So yesterday morning, during our morning gathering of gratitude, they brought up and let me know that there was another mass shooting in Maine. And I had this moment of like distress. Not because of the mass shooting, not because of the horror, not because of the suffering and the deaths and the grief associated with it, but in the consistency and the relentlessness of this type of news. Just, earlier that morning and the day before, I had been in conversations online about the terrorist actions and retaliation in Israel. And just feeling like there is, it requires so much discipline and a moral kind of navigating to figure out how much you can invest. Like clearly every event of death and suffering is deserving of compassion, and yet we are unequipped to provide our hearts to that degree. Think about the history of humanity and the access to suffering or news of suffering compared to now. With the internet, we are able to be aware of all the oppression and all the suffering in the world. Okay, not all, but massive amounts of injustice and suffering and pain and death. And so the news every day can be a legitimate reason for overwhelm. And it just goes on and on and on. And so I think that we need to be really careful about feeling obligated to feel everything. We're just not wired for it. If 100 years ago, you would know about the oppression in your town, you would know about the suffering in your family and your friends, you would know about the horrible things that happened in the accidents, around where you lived. But that's it. And you would need to process that stuff. You would need to grieve those things. You would need to address those conflicts. And the brain is just not wired to be aware of that many people and that many conflicts and that much injustice and suffering and oppression. I believe that is a huge cause of the epidemic of mental health. Our brains do not have a set point that allows us to be compassionate and make space for the degree of suffering in the world. So how do we not close our hearts, not shut out the world, and not collapse under the weight of it all? I don't know the answer to that. But I think we each need to find a way and give each other permission to practice self-care in there. Self-care and gratitude, no matter what. I think there can be a tendency to feel like it's irresponsible or selfish to practice self-care and gratitude when there's so much suffering. That was one of the feelings I had when the woman let me know yesterday there was another mass shooting. It's like, am I being insensitive if I allow myself to be in a positive headspace to talk about optimism and gratitude? Or because there is this thing that happened in the world at this today, is it the right thing to do to focus on grief? And I think that we need to recognize that everyone is doing the best they can. And so there might be something that gets us totally fired up and activated. And it might feel, you might even have anger that someone else is not as upset as you. I see that happening around, recent stuff with Israel and Palestine. And, why didn't you say something? Why didn't you say more? Why haven't you spoken up? And I think we need to to allow people to protect their humanness and to process as they see fit. And that it is not an indication of a lack of compassion or a lack of care to have to not speak out, to not take a stand, especially in an issue that no matter what you say, you will have an opposing voice very ready to come at you with some aggression. It takes energy. It takes a privilege of energy and support and anchoring to really take a stand on things that are difficult. I can remember, when before Trump was elected, when that became a possibility, I really decided, okay, I am going to take a stand and speak out. And every time before I would make a post that was, in the political landscape, saying this is a dangerous place, that the future of our democracy is going to have negative effects because of this human being, not pro-Republican, anti-Republican, just like, politics aside, I'm pro-democracy, and this is going to be a danger to it because of Supreme Court justices and things like that. So every time I decided I was going to post something, I had to know and tell myself, I'm going to have a multi-day spiritual tax. This is going to be challenging. I'm going to be overwhelmed. My energy is going to be just depleted because of this. And knowingly go, okay, I'm going to invest my energy into this, even though the chance of it mattering is small, but maybe there's somebody who's undecided, or maybe there's somebody that says, well, I can't vote for Hillary. And I'm like, I get that. However, or someone that might say, I just want to destroy the whole system and burn it down. I'm like, okay, well, I understand that idea, but look to history and see what happens when systems collapse. You know who takes over? Not the love and light people, the regimes with power and cruelty. So think these things through. So these are the things that I was like, okay, I feel like I care enough that I'm willing to take this on, and I have the capacity. I didn't have the capacity every day, but when I did, I would speak. And I think that has to be where you go to. Do I have the capacity? And then I'm going to spend my energy in the direction of causes that matter to me. And when you're in that place and you've made that choice, this is what I care about, have forgiveness, compassion, and understanding to the people who in that moment do not have the energy to take a stand with you. Because we can't fight all day, every day, and still be effective and still maintain our connection to our spirits. And somewhere in this insane human experience of this time in history, we have to figure out how to live in this world and nourish our hearts, to enjoy our lives and make the world brighter by the way we live in it. And we got to forgive ourselves and forgive others as we stumble in those ways, in those paths. We're doing the best we can. We all are. So with that, I extend my deepest compassion for anyone who is hurting, feeling grief right now, anyone who's feeling injustice or oppression right now, anyone who's feeling like their voice is not being heard right now, and acknowledge that all of these things are part of our human journey. And whether my sentiments today are connecting to you or not, or whether you feel like you're being heard or not, that we are all connected. And when we are all feeling one another's pain, and hopefully feeling the strength of one another when we need it. Thank you. I love you.